You're listening to the CyberWire Network, powered by N2K.
In the dynamic world of enterprise security, identity architects and IT leaders face a major challenge. Growth by repeated acquisitions multiplies the complexity of everything. Multiple IDPs, MFA providers, policy engines that all need to coexist. This can lead to fragmented user identities and policies that create security vulnerabilities and add access friction. Strata Identity solves this. Now you can decommission unneeded IDPs and consolidate the ones you'd like to keep without rewriting apps or disrupting users, engineers, and app owners. Plus, Strata's modular architecture makes it easy to integrate with any identity provider without manual maintenance and coding. Join the ranks of cybersecurity leaders using identity orchestration. Visit strata.io/cyberwire, share your top identity security priorities, and receive a pair of complimentary AirPods Pro. Offer valid for organizations with over 5,000 employees. Step into a new era of identity management at strata.io/cyberwire. Healthcare providers report breaches affecting millions. PlugX malware is found in over 170 countries. Hackers exploit an old vulnerability to launch Cobalt Strike. A popular WordPress plugin is under active exploitation. Developing nations may serve as a test bed for malware developers. German authorities question Microsoft over Russian hacks. CISA celebrates the success of their ransomware warning program. Our guest is Eric Goldstein, Executive Assistant Director for Cybersecurity at CISA, discussing open source software. And password trends are a mixed bag. It's Friday, April 26, 2024. I'm Dave Bittner, and this is your CyberWire Intel Briefing. Happy Friday. It is great to have you here with us. Kaiser Permanente, a major U.S. healthcare provider, reported a security breach affecting 13.4 million individuals. The breach involves sharing patient data, including names and IP addresses, with third-party companies like Google, Microsoft, and Twitter for advertising purposes. This information was collected through their website and mobile apps, but did not include sensitive details like social security numbers or financial data. Kaiser has since removed the tracking codes responsible for the data sharing. There's no evidence yet of misuse of this exposed information. This incident follows a June 2022 breach at Kaiser where an email compromise exposed the health details of 69,000 people. Kaiser operates 39 hospitals and over 700 medical offices across multiple U.S. states. Meanwhile, the Los Angeles County Department of Health Services experienced a phishing attack on February 19th and 20th of this year, leading to a data breach impacting just over 6,000 patients. Hackers accessed the login credentials of 23 employees, compromising their email boxes, which contained patients' personal and health information, including names, contact details, medical records, and health plan data. However, social security numbers and financial details were not exposed. Following the breach, the department took steps such as disabling affected accounts, re-imaging devices, and enhancing email security. They also alerted employees to the risks of phishing. Notifications have been sent to affected individuals and relevant authorities, although there has been no reported misuse of the exposed data. Researchers at cybersecurity firm Sequoia have discovered the China-linked PlugX malware in over 170 countries. Initially developed in 2008 by companies tied to the Chinese Ministry of State Security, the malware has been widely used for espionage. Its spread intensified in 2020 when hackers added features enabling transmission via USB drives, targeting networks that are usually offline. In September of 2023, Sequoia took over a command and control server for PlugX, observing daily connections from up to 100,000 unique IP addresses and identifying over 2.5 million unique IPs in 6 months. The data revealed significant infection rates, particularly in Nigeria, India, Iran, and the US, among others. Researchers speculate that the malware's distribution could relate to strategic locations important to China's Belt and Road Initiative, suggesting its use in gathering intelligence on those regions. Hackers have exploited an old Microsoft Office vulnerability to launch Cobalt Strike beacon attacks in Ukraine. This vulnerability, identified in 2017, allows attackers to execute arbitrary code through specially crafted files. The campaign involved a deceptive PowerPoint slideshow file posing as a U.S. Army manual, which evaded security measures by using an external OLE object linked via a scripted HTTPS URL. This method demonstrates the attacker's emphasis on stealth. The Cobalt Strike beacon, central to this attack, communicated with a CNC server disguised as a photography website, indicating sophisticated evasion tactics. Although the attackers remain unidentified, the operation's detection at all stages highlights the necessity for vigilant and advanced cybersecurity measures. The team at Deep Instinct Threat Labs are credited with much of the research. Threat actors are exploiting a critical vulnerability in the Wordpress Automatic plugin, enabling SQL injection to inject code into websites and create administrator accounts. This flaw allows attackers to bypass user authentication, upload malicious files, and gain sustained access by renaming the vulnerable plugin file. WP Scan has detected over 5 million attempts to exploit this vulnerability. Website administrators using WordPress Automatic are urged to update their installations immediately to prevent unauthorized access and potential site takeover. Cybersecurity firm Performanta reports that hackers are increasingly using developing and emerging nations as testing grounds for new malware strains before launching attacks in wealthier countries. Organizations in Africa, Latin America, and Asia with typically weaker security are initially targeted. This tactic was noted in attacks on institutions like a bank in Senegal and a financial services company in Chile. One notable ransomware strain, Medusa, known for encrypting and threatening to publish data unless a ransom is paid, was first deployed against targets in South Africa, Senegal, and Tonga before being used in more advanced economies such as the US and UK. This approach allows hackers to refine their methods before targeting high-profile victims in North America and Europe. Some experts suggest that ransomware gangs also sell their tools to less sophisticated hackers in poorer regions, contributing to the prevalence of hackers there. Russian hackers identified as Midnight Blizzard, also known as APT29 or Cozy Bear, compromised Microsoft's source code repository but only gained read-only access without the ability to alter the code. This was disclosed by Microsoft's senior executives during a closed-door meeting with the German Parliamentary Technology Oversight Committee. The breach, which involved viewing but not modifying code, was part of a broader discussion on security lapses highlighted by recent high-profile attacks and criticisms of Microsoft's security practices. German officials are particularly concerned about the potential risks to government operations relying heavily on Microsoft products. The hearing aimed to assess the hack's implications and ensure ongoing communications between Microsoft, the German Committee, and the Federal Office for Information Security. We note in full disclosure that Microsoft is a CyberWire partner, but we report on them just like we would any other company. The Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency is reporting success with its ransomware vulnerability warning pilot, a program launched in January 2023 to alert organizations about internet-exposed vulnerabilities targeted by ransomware actors. The program, part of legislation signed by President Biden in 2022, led to 754 notifications last year, with 852 of those vulnerabilities being patched, controlled, or removed following the alerts. Most organizations see a significant reduction in risk within the first 90 days, with an average risk reduction of 40% within a year. The program primarily notified government and healthcare entities, highlighting its effectiveness in these critical sectors. By identifying and addressing these vulnerabilities, CISA aims to increase the operational costs for ransomware gangs and deter their activities through enhanced cyber defense. Coming up after the break, we've got CISA's Executive Assistant Director for Cybersecurity, Eric Goldstein, talking about open source software. And now, a word from our sponsor, Zscaler, the leader in cloud security. Cyber attackers are using AI in creative ways to compromise users and breach organizations. In a security landscape where you must fight AI with AI, the best AI protection comes from having the best data. Zscaler has extended its zero-trust architecture with powerful AI engines that are trained and tuned by 500 trillion daily signals. Learn more about Zscaler Zero Trust Plus AI to prevent ransomware and AI attacks. Experience your world secured. Visit zscaler.com/zerotrustai. The IT world used to be simpler. You only had to secure and manage environments that you controlled. Then came new technologies and new ways to work. Now, employees, apps, and networks are everywhere. This means poor visibility, security gaps, and added risk. That's why Cloudflare created the first-ever connectivity cloud. Visit cloudflare.com to protect your business everywhere you do business. And joining me once again is Eric Goldstein. He's Executive Assistant Director for Cybersecurity at CISA. Eric, welcome back. I want to touch today on open source software and what CISA's guidance is for organizations who are looking to do their part in securing that. What can you share with us today?
Open source software security has been a priority for CISA and the broader U.S. government for quite some time now. But in early March, we held an open source security summit where we brought together leaders from the open source software community, and we announced a few key actions that we are really excited about because we know that at this point, the potential risks of open source software are understood, as well as the extraordinary value that the open source ecosystem provides to almost every software package used for every critical function of daily life. And so as part of this summit, we brought together package repositories, we brought together developers, maintainers, and federal agencies to really try to drive some measurable change in how we manage these critical resources.
Well, take us through what was the summit like and what were some of the key elements that you all touched on there?
Yeah, there's really three key areas that we focused on during this summit. First of all, we're really excited about the role of open source package repositories as acting as effective intermediaries to help support developers and maintainers and help manage risks for open source end users. And so as part of this summit, CISA and the Open Source Security Foundation's Securing Software Repositories Working Group developed a framework for voluntary security maturity levels for package repositories. And as part of this summit, we got agreement from multiple repositories, the Rust Foundation, the Python Software Foundation, NPM, to name only a few, to commit to using this voluntary framework for package security and then some very specific improvements to how they are securing their ecosystem and the open source packages therein. In addition, we launched a new effort to enable voluntary collaboration and information sharing across the open source software community, because we know that although there is rich information sharing about threats and vulnerabilities across enterprises and across many software manufacturers, many times the open source community are in part of these conversations when there is a new adversary campaign or a new vulnerability. And so our goal is to bring the open source community into this collaboration model that we've built and make sure that we are working together to address the next threat and vulnerability that arises. And then finally, we ended the day with a tabletop exercise focused on vulnerability and incident response affecting an open source package. And we're going to publish the exercise scenario we used so that the community can build upon that work and further advance our approaches to responding to vulnerabilities and incidents that affect open source repositories or packages.
Where do you see CISA sitting within the ecosystem here? And in terms of being a collaborator, of having a leadership position? I mean, the open source community has been around for a while. It is a robust community. Where do you all see yourselves sitting?
Our goal is to be a partner, a convener, and most importantly, a supporter. The open source community, the developers and maintainers who build and manage open source projects provide extraordinary economic value to our country and to the global technology ecosystem. And so our goal is to lift up those organizations who are investing in improving the security of this ecosystem, identify areas where more investment and support is needed, and then provide the fora, the platforms, the collaborative models to make sure that we are bringing in the right partners and driving the right level of change. But ultimately, this work is going to be driven inherently by the community itself, by the developers, the maintainers, the repositories who are doing the critical work every day.
Yeah, I mean, it really strikes me as being a key area here, just in that, every day we're seeing stories about supply chain vulnerabilities, and much of that happens where some open source library has, either been corrupted or cloned. There's been misinformation. I guess what I'm getting to is that I see the need here as being really strong.
That's exactly right. There is nothing more insecure or vulnerable about open source software than about proprietary software. But we know that the ubiquity and the scale deployment of open source packages does mean that we need to take the security risks really seriously. And so we think that working with developers and maintainers and with repositories, we're going to be able to drive the right security practices in the development and maintenance of open source software, and also ensure that when an end user organization is using an open source package or library, that they have confidence that it is in fact a non-malicious version that is up to date and has been checked for known vulnerabilities.
For folks who are ready to jump in here, are looking to engage with you and your colleagues there, what would be the best way to get in touch?
Yep, they can go to our website, CISA.gov. On the landing page, we have a link to our open source work. That is a great place to check out our various resources. And there's also an email on there to get in touch with our open source team.
All right. Well, Eric Goldstein is Executive Assistant Director for Cybersecurity at CISA. Eric, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Dave. Always a pleasure.
Managing the requirements for modern security programs is increasingly challenging and time-consuming. Enter Vanta. Vanta gives you one place to centralize and scale your security program. Quickly assess risk, streamline security reviews, and automate compliance for ISO 27001, SOC 2, and more. You can leverage Vanta's market-leading trust management platform to unify risk management and secure the trust of your customers. Plus, use Vanta AI to save time when completing security questionnaires. CyberWire Daily listeners can get $1,000 off by going to vanta.com/cyber. That's VANTA.com/cyber.
Hey everybody, today I want to highlight a name that all of us know well, and that is our sponsor, Splunk. You need to keep operations humming around the clock, but potential disruptions are everywhere. Splunk helps you predict problems and find and fix issues fast so you can reduce risk and ditch downtime. The world's largest enterprises rely on Splunk's unified security and observability platform to become more efficient, resilient, and innovative. With Splunk, you can react quickly, evolve faster, and be ready for anything. Stay ahead of disruptions. Learn more at splunk.com/resilience. And we thank Splunk for sponsoring our show. And finally, a survey by Bitwarden revealed concerning trends in password management, with 54% of individuals globally relying on memory and 33% using pen and paper to manage passwords. The survey covered users from the US, UK, Australia, France, Germany, and Japan, highlighting widespread password reuse and the use of personal information in passwords. Despite 60% of respondents feeling confident in identifying phishing attacks and 68% in mitigating AI-enhanced cyber threats, 19% have experienced security breaches due to poor password practices, and 23% have had passwords stolen or compromised. At work, similar trends persist, with reliance on memory and paper still prevalent. However, the survey also notes a positive shift toward better security habits, including the adoption of password managers and two-factor authentication, reflecting a growing awareness and implementation of stronger cybersecurity measures. As for committing passwords to memory, heck, I can't even remember what I had yesterday for lunch. And that's the CyberWire. For links to all of today's stories, check out our daily briefing at thecyberwire.com. We are excited to share the third installment of Cyber Talent Insights today. This three-part special series podcast explores cybersecurity workforce development from three different perspectives: the enterprise employer, the cyber practitioner, and cyber talent pipelines. Join Dr. Heather Munthy, Dr. Sasha Vanterpool, and Jeff Welgan for a dynamic discussion that guides listeners through effective strategies to develop cybersecurity teams in the constantly changing landscape of the industry. That's Cyber Talent Insights. Do check it out. Be sure to check out this weekend's Research Saturday and my conversation with Christopher Domon, co-founder and CTO at Cato Security. We're talking about Cerber ransomware, dissecting the three heads. That's Research Saturday. Check it out. We'd love to know what you think of this podcast. You can email us at cyberwire@n2k.com. N2K Strategic Workforce Intelligence optimizes the value of your biggest investment, your people. We make you smarter about your team while making your team smarter. Learn more at n2k.com. This episode was produced by Liz Stokes. Our mixer is Trey Hester with original music by Elliot Peltzman. Our executive producers are Jennifer Iben and Brandon Karp. Our executive editor is Peter Kilpie, and I'm Dave Bittner. Thanks for listening. We'll see you back here next week.